Hello, my name is CPeters, and for my senior project, I did service dogs and the treatment of disabilities with the use of service dogs. On your program, it actually says "Life is Rough," which was my original title of this thing, but I changed it to "Helping Paul: The Treatment of Disabilities with Service Dogs," slightly less cheesy. So I progressed right there. So I chose this topic because, for one, I love animals. I'm a huge dog person, and I really enjoy helping people. And I also have a more personal connection with it because two of my nephews have disabilities. One has type 1 diabetes, and the other one has autism, which are two of the biggest disabilities that service dogs use to treat. So, a service dog, as defined by the Americans with Disabilities Act, is any dog that is specifically trained to do work or perform tasks to benefit a person with a disability. So the four main disabilities that I studied were epilepsy, diabetes, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, epilepsy, I already said that. Okay, so epilepsy, diabetes, PTSD, that's it, and autism. So throughout my research, I touched on all of those disabilities, but I focused my paper mainly on autism and adolescents with autism. Some of the things that I learned with each of those disabilities where really it's amazing what service dogs can do. For a person with PTSD, they're trained, when you go to war and you come back, that's just one example for veteran with PTSD, but you're trained to always scout your perimeters and always be on the lookout. So when you come back into a civilian society, it can be really hard to transition back to it. So the dog will actually go ahead of you and can scout out for you. They can go ahead to an empty room and turn on the lights and search the room for you. So it's really a stress relief. They can also, for physical assistance, alert the authorities if you feel unsafe and things like that. With epilepsy, they have seizure response dogs. They also have seizure, alert dogs that can predict seizures, when they're about to happen. But those are more rare because you have to, the dog has to be born with that ability, and they don't actually know what the dog's detecting when they do that, so you can't really train the dog to do that. They also have, when they respond to seizures, they have, a button they can press that will call the medical assistants. They have medications they can deliver and things like that. With diabetes, a dog can smell when a person's blood sugar is low. They also, with type 1 diabetes, you have to wake up in the middle of the night and constantly check your blood sugar. They will wake their owner up for them to check their blood sugar. And with autism, there's a ton of things that service dogs can do with autism. Because every case is different, a dog is specifically trained for that person, that individual. And some of the techniques they have, there's the deep pressure technique, which is when a person is going through a tantrum sort of thing. It really depends on the individual, but some of them can be helped out with applying pressure. So the dog will either sit by them and apply pressure to the leg, or they will sit on them. Actually, it sounds bad, but they do, and they apply pressure to them, and it soothes them, and it works out that way. They also promote emotional connection. They promote relationships with other people. So yeah, it's really amazing what they can do. I really studied the adolescents with autism. So when I was getting into that, I looked at the psychological side of it, what makes service dogs so good at dealing with disabilities, and animal-assisted therapy. So animal-assisted therapy is when they bring a dog in and the therapist will use it as a social catalyst. And so that will promote emotional connectivity to other things, and it will also, so it promotes emotional connection, and it promotes external reality, so connection to the external reality. So in other words, it kind of gets the patient out of their own head and into the here and now, the present, rather than worrying about your future anxieties or your worries that are troubling you. So therapists have begun using more service dogs in their therapy programs for that reason. Okay, so after that, so they aren't purely used for physical assistance, they're also emotional assistance, but if it's purely for emotional assistance, that is a therapy dog, which is not covered by the ADA to allow access into all buildings. So for my internship, I served it with service dogs by Warm Retrievers located in Madison County. My internship mentor was Sherry Campbell. She is pictured here on your left. You're right. Yeah, anyways, so I did this from the end of November into the beginning of January, and I wasn't actually able to see the service dogs in action with like people with disabilities because of confidentiality issues, but I did explore every aspect of raising and training a service dog. So that is their credo. Until they're secure, there's a dog. And they breed, raise, train, and deliver service dogs to families in need. So, not everything I did was pretty. As you can see in this picture, I have a scooper, so this is real, guys. You gotta do it. So, I mean, on the first day that I went there, I learned about the daily care routine of the service dogs, so cleaning their cages, feeding them, and teaching them some of their basic training. So, yeah, the puppy's cute. So, some of the basic trainings that I taught them were to sit, to stay, and to paw, and they start that at a very, very young age. During this stage, they will actually go to puppy raisers, which is kind of like a foster family for dogs. So the company will give a dog to a family, and they'll pay for all the medical bills and for anything that dog needs. And they get a little vest, and they get to bring the dog around to every public place they go to. And in turn, that family just like says that it will continue its training, just the basic stuff though. And then they will like introduce it to the outside world and get them acclimated to society. So after a year, the dog is given back to the company, and then they go into like in-depth training for the disabilities they will be used for. And actually, it's pretty interesting because they use different breeds for different things. So like the chocolate labs are usually used for diabetes. The golden retrievers are used for autism, and the yellow labs are for PTSD. And any dog can be used for epilepsy, really, because it's just a response dog. So another part of my internship was taking the dogs out into public and kind of getting them acclimated to people coming up and trying to pet them and loud noises and distractions. So we typically went here, it was in Lowe's, and we went there a lot because they have loud like machines always going and it's a lot of distractions. We also would go to Walmart and go to the toy section and like press all the toys in the section. So yeah, the people love us there. And so like it would be a lot of like loud noises and distractions, and then we would sit the dog down and give him his training. And that is really important for a dog to be able to block out everything, because when it's an actual service dog with its owner with a disability, if it can't like ignore distractions, like people coming up to him, then it could be life-threatening for that person with a disability. But my internship wasn't all work and no play. So I actually myself got to socialize with the puppies, but it wasn't actually just purely for my enjoyment. However, you can see how happy I was in this internship. But it was actually because when a puppy, you really need to start socializing it at a young age, because as a service dog, it's next to their owner 24/7. And so random people are always coming up, oh, hey, you're going to pet the dog? You know, it's a cute dog, it's going to happen. So the dog has to get used to meeting new people and that sort of stuff. So if a dog cannot like stay in an area with large crowds, or if it's not okay with meeting new people and it's timid and shy, then most likely it cannot become a service dog. So for my internship, I worked with the Boys and Girls Club of Madison, Virginia, and I did this program I called Pause for a Cause for 7 weeks. My supervisors were my mentor, Sherry Campbell, the Community Outreach Director at Service Dogs by Warm Retrievers, Brenda Clements, and my supervisor at Boys and Girls Club, Marie Johnson. So during this program, I would make a worksheet every week, and every week we would learn about a different disability, how the service dogs treat those disabilities, and we would also teach them like training techniques. So we would go for sit, stay, and paw, all that good stuff. So this week, I think we were learning about epilepsy. So I taught them that no, a service dog cannot be taught to alert to seizures, but they can be taught to respond to seizures. And most of the kids actually didn't know much about disabilities, because they were young, they were like in 5th grade. But it was like really like, I felt good kind of enlightening them because they didn't understand. And we also talked about what an invisible disability is, which is like an disability that you cannot see. And so people usually don't say like, oh, there's nothing wrong with them. So I explained it as if someone was wearing glasses or they needed glasses and they were wearing the glasses, you could tell, oh, you need glasses. But if they're not, then you can't. So it's kind of an invisible disability, and kind of like made them understand that sometimes like there's things that you can't see that are going on. So we also talked about some of the methods that I went over earlier that a service dog does to aid a person in need. And the second part of that program was the training techniques. So in this picture, Jeremy Dotson, one of the trainers from Service Dogs by Warm Retrievers, came in and he was teaching them how to sit and teaching them how to properly walk a service dog. And it was actually really interesting going back to the psychological aspect of like what a service dog like does to like kids and to people in general. When the service dog was there, even if they weren't like interacting with it, just the service dog being in the room, they were totally attentive and like focusing on what I was saying. But one week he couldn't come and they were like totally hyper and like talking the whole time and like that kind of stuff. So it just like it was interesting to me to see that even though the service dog wasn't interacting with them, it was still affecting them in that way. The second part of my community service was with the Madison County Primary School. I did my first day, April 8th, this past Friday, and I'm doing like a reading program there. So I'm working with 2 classes, first grade Mrs. Seekley and second grade Miss Mack. And I get the kids to come out and just bring me a book that they're reading in class, and they'll read it with me and the dog. So I do that once a week on Friday, and I'm doing that for 4 more weeks. And my supervisor for this is my mentor, Sherry Campbell. So it was really interesting to see the like effect that the service dog had on like the children while they were reading. Because when the children would first come, they would like read in very choppy sentences and like not really like fluent at all. But then as they would start like petting the service dog, they would like start to relax and like speak and read more fluently and like more comprehensively. And they really enjoyed it too. So that was also really rewarding seeing them like happy with that. So my reflection would be that I actually like realized from my service dog program at the Boys and Girls Club that I love teaching. So that might be a future career choice for me. It was also a big leap, I think, for all of us seniors to really like go out on our own and like decide our own deadlines and like that kind of stuff. Like a lot of responsibilities put on us. The legacy I hope to leave is the Boys and Girls Club. I will continue that throughout the summer. And I hope to really educate the youth on like alternate ways to treating disabilities rather like from medication, but like a more natural way of treating it. And also like teaching those kids about the disabilities that sometimes aren't talked about a lot. My advice for future BRBGS students, you'll hear this a lot, but for some reason we still keep doing it because it happens every year, but procrastination. Okay, so you guys, procrastination. But yeah, and another thing also like really pick something you love because then it won't be work at all. It's just like I loved my internship in community service, so I was really excited when I got to do it. Then it doesn't seem that hard. So, and for this future of mine, I am going to Virginia Tech to study neuroscience. And yes. And that's it.
Did you get a chance to talk to anybody that had a service dog so they could give you their perspective on having had one?
I couldn't because the company, like again with the confidentiality issues, they couldn't really like identify the people who had the disabilities. So no, I got secondhand reports from my mentor of like people that she had dropped the dog off to. Like there was this one girl that she would take the dog to go visit, and she had like a really severe case of autism, and so she would talk in like broken sentences, and she would also refer to herself in like first person. But then after a few weeks of bringing the dog, instead of saying like Carol wants a drink or me want a drink, she would say like I want a drink and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty. I thought that was really cool.
The service dogs, where is that located?
In Madison.
Where?
It's like near Culpeper. That side, it's Willard's Ford Road, like near that. If you know, I don't know the address. I'm sorry.
Okay, I know where.
Oh, okay.
Now, who finances the
It's
operation of training and so on?
So Dan Warren owns it, so that's where the 5 Warren Retrievers comes from, and it's a 503 like C that thing, and so it's like a private kind of company. I think he finances all of it. They like sell the service dogs, so they kind of fund it through that profit.
So sell to people that need them? I mean,
Yes.
does their medical insurance?
I'm sure that does like play a little bit to it, but I'm not, as far as I know, medical insurance doesn't cover that much of it, because the dogs are pretty expensive, because they go through really extensive training, so yes.
That's what I was trying to figure.
Yeah.
Did they go over with you how they select their puppies? You had a lot of puppies there at the same time. What characteristics they're looking for in a service dog?
So when a service dog is like retired, they become a breeding dog, and so they actually like breed their own puppies. So that's how they like decide. And so if a dog was like really good as an autism dog, they will also pair that with another autism dog, and then have like a litter, and they pick it like that.